in a hospital, in a facility, for example. The first thing is we prepare the data. What is our data here, right? What are some of the inputs or symptoms or patterns or data around medical information of patients that we can see, that a healthcare worker can see and say, okay, these are similar patterns that we can analyze and that show us certain symptoms that prove that this patient is either at risk, or this patient is predisposed to that condition, right? I'm going to ask for us to go to the next slide so that we see how we can prepare our data, process it, train our machine models, evaluate, and then we're able to come to a conclusion about the AI model. Next slide. Very good. Thank you so much. So an example of data we're going to use in this case is the example of this case of how to diagnose diabetes. From what we can see on this data spreadsheet, we can see that there are several columns with different inputs. One is number of times pregnant, right? How many times has this patient been pregnant? Another is plasma glucose concentration, right? We have diastolic blood pressure. We have body mass BMI, body mass index. We have the age of the patient. We have diabetes pedigree function. These are important elements that have been carefully selected, processed, and arranged in this data spreadsheet that now shows what the output is. That if a patient has this elements, this patient is test positive for diabetes. So when we have this spreadsheet, this data is then processed and fed into the training model, right? And then it undergoes an evaluation process so that the training model, the AI program is then able to identify similar patterns of data that is fed into it, to be able to say, okay, because I've been exposed to this particular training data, I have observed that when a patient stands at risk or can test positive for diabetes, or a patient is of this age, the patient is predisposed to this chronic condition. So with that spread of data, with that exactly, data is thank you very much, Anna. Data is the backbone of AI models. You really can't do without data. Data is what helps, either the users or the machine learning engineers or even the healthcare worker or the innovators to be able to understand what are the patterns, what are just the same way you do in medical school, where you learn from different cases, different symptoms, you're able to piece together those different patterns and algorithms. In the same way, that's how we use data in artificial intelligence, right? And then when we feed this data into the training model, it then undergoes a continuous testing and evaluation process to see, is this training model able to interpret or produce an output that looks like the original data that has been fed? And if yes, if yes, what are the inferences we are taking from this? How can we learn? How can we refine this model? How can we make it better? How can we use it and deploy it in the real world? This is how the AI really works with the use of data, from understanding the problem to preparing data, to processing it, to training the data, to evaluating it, to making inferences, and then either replacing or retiring it. So like we said, data is a key component of AI models. And honestly, with the way data sets are increasing exponentially, with the way the world is moving so fast, a new branch of AI was introduced called generative AI and large language models. A few slides earlier, I tried to explain that generative AI is the ability, or is the machine learning, it's an artificial intelligence category or technique that enables it to generate new contents that resembles the similar output it was exposed to, right? And then secondly, we have what we call large language models. Large language models are a category of artificial intelligence that have the ability to, they have a vast scale. They can interpret large amounts of data, and then they can be fine-tuned and trained to perform specific tasks, right? And there are examples of this. So generative AI really is a subset of AI technologies that is capable of creating new contents that resembles the training that it was exposed to. So like generating text, generating images. Some of us have generated images, right? Profile pictures, that we've used on our Facebook or on our Instagram or on our WhatsApp in that same way. So, it's able to also even generate from speech to text. So when you feed it a particular prompt or feed it a particular information, it's able to generate new content that resembles what it was exposed to. While large language models, have the capacity to leverage, and they can interpret large amounts of data sources, right? And then they are able to then make predictions or make decisions from that analysis and interpretation. Next slide, please. Awesome. So how does generative AI work? A way to break this down for us so that we're able to understand is the way that you feed in, we'll use a word called tokens, right? We've spoken about data extensively, how data is very important. It's the backbone, it's a central component of AI. You can't do without data. You know, you need to be able to have data, then train that data through the model, test it, build a system, refine, validate, that entire process, that entire cycle. So yes, we understand that, but that data, right, is what when we feed the system or the machine or the model or the program, whatever it is we're using, a particular prompt or token, it's like a snippet. Tokens are like snippets of a particular text, so that when the system sees that text, that token, it's able to identify the next likely word that would follow it, right? So these tokens are our inputs, you know, the way, you know, garbage in, garbage out. So they're like our inputs, you know, they're snippets of text, of words, of punctuations, you know, of even pixels that the system can recognize and understand, and then it's able to generate the next likely words that will follow it from the large training data set it has been exposed to. Now, it's important to also highlight that sometimes the systems can make mistakes or hallucinate based on the limitations of this process, but the output will still look like what you wanted, and which is why there is a continuous refining and testing process for AI, right? So it's input, output, data fed in, continuously trained, tested, exposed to large training model, large training data sets, and then you're able to check the correction for that. Next slide, please. Awesome. So you want to use an example to break down how does generative AI work in this instance. I'm going to use an example in the healthcare space. So, you know, the way, for those of us who already use Meta AI or ChatGPT, you know, you go there and you feed it a particular question. Maybe you're trying to write a research paper and you feed it a particular, but you give it a prompt. It is able to leverage, right, the large training data set it has been exposed to, you know, and then it's able to process it and then provide an answer or response to your question. So we ask it specific questions. For example, a human asks the large language model, what should I do if I'm having a headache constantly? This model is able to refer back to the large training data set that's been exposed to, and then look for information that speaks to what a human should do and then provide a response. So it says, persistent headaches can indicate in a number of possible health conditions, from minor ones like stress or inadequate sleep to serious problems like brain disorders or migraines. If you're having constant headaches in certain points, you should follow the following steps. Maybe, for example, it says you should see a doctor, right? Or you should go here. So these are examples of how these tokens that are fed in, that may just be like a single character or a snippet of a word, headache, the word headache fed in, and automatically these prompts are converted into tokens that the system can analyze and know what is supposed to come next, and then is able to give a response. Okay, next slide, please. So thank you so much. So the next thing, so large language models like ChatGPT essentially use natural language processing. What is natural language processing? Natural language processing just basically speaks to the idea of humans and computers interaction. So the ability of a computer to be able to understand, interpret human language in a way that is meaningful and useful. That's simply what it means. So we're saying that LLMs, these large language models that have the capacity of being exposed to large training data sets and is able to access this data and is able to, you know, also provide responses. In that same way, large language models, you know, we've given an example of data sources that large language models can use. For example, the app. Some of us have health apps that, you know, we have access to, we use. You can get data from, we can call data from these apps, right? Institutions, the hospital, the patient's data, medical history, patient information, or track maybe how many steps you walked in a day, or even user surveys or questionnaires. So there is a large, wide array of where data sources can be pulled from, right? And then this data is then fed, is prompted, it is used to train these models, and then adapted for use by the consumers of healthcare. So whether in its ability to help the user, you know, sleep better, you know, like we can see on the screen, or physical activity or exercise, for example, walking, or being able to diagnose better for the healthcare worker, you know, being able to test what are some of the patterns that we a healthcare worker diagnose more accurately or better, right? So and then we then have applications that can be used by people. So you can see the flow from data sources to being fed into training models that are trained with this data, And then we're able to help the human, assist the human, right? Like we explained at the beginning, be more efficient or be able to carry out certain tasks and applications. So from providing care support for the patients to research to diagnosis to even streamlining workflows in the healthcare system, in the administration. That entire process of how the healthcare systems work and function can leverage large language models to be more efficient. Next slide, please. Awesome. So there are some examples of publicly available AI tools. I'm going to also at this point just give a quick disclaimer that, again, these models or these examples or brands are purely for informational or illustrative purposes. We are not liable for any accuracies or omissions that might be experienced in the use of this tool. So these are some of the tools we've seen. There's that users can interact and can generate content and communicate back to the user. So we have ChatGPT, we have Google, Gemini, we have Amazon, we have several of this, right? And we've given examples of them. So next slide, please. Awesome. So when we think about these technologies that can support the healthcare field, let's dive deep a little further into how certain examples that have been attempted specifically for healthcare and tailored for improving clinical outcomes, right? The first is information synthesis and retrieval. There is no aspect or element of healthcare delivery that does not require information or data, like we've explained, over and over again. From understanding what is the patient's information, what were the health metrics that were checked, what were the patient's vitals, right? What medical history does this patient have? How does this play a role in the patient's final outcome around the precision or diagnosis of this patient's condition, right? And there is a tool called MedPalm that is helpful for this, right? When we come to enhancing clinical efficiency or clinician efficiency, we have DocsGPT. Also, another technology and that AI technology that helps to enhance clinical efficiency. Next, medical education. When we talk about how AI can be leveraged for several aspects of the healthcare delivery or healthcare institution or healthcare system, we must not forget how that even AI is important for healthcare worker training, almost like what we're having here in this conversation today. So in ChatGPT is also another tool that is also be very useful for, personalizing training, personalizing, understanding, weaknesses, strengths of the learner, and being able to amplify and enhance assimilation and learning. Same thing with research and development. And then lastly, for patient examination, there's a tool called MedMatch that is also useful for this aspect of healthcare delivery. So as you can see, the world is moving fast in evolving, innovating some of these tools that can be very effective for several aspects of healthcare delivery. Next slide, please. So while there are several AI tools available, there are also a few other examples that you can try. There's Path AI, that's, is a powerful blend of artificial intelligence and machine learning, very useful for pathology and diagnostic medicine, right? There is Coti, also another AI-powered platform that enhances decision-making in real time. Many of us are familiar with ChatGPT. There is MedPalm, like we read earlier, and there is also Chem at mymdoc.com. So these are some tools that continue to help and revolutionize the way healthcare delivery and clinician efficiency can be advanced in the healthcare space. Next slide, please. So like I said earlier, it's very important that every healthcare worker has a foundational understanding of not just the promise, the possibilities, the potentials of AI, but also what are the risks, what are the challenges, what are the limitations. And really, it would not be balanced if we come to this session and talk about all the wonderful things that AI can be leveraged for, and we do not also explore what are some of the limitations that AI or large language models can have or pose in clinical settings. So like we've said earlier, it's shown potential, but the utilization of these AI programs or machines come with certain limitations and challenges that need to be addressed, right? So the first is inability to explain reasoning. There are sometimes that in your use of an LLM or a training model, it will generate responses that are not very transparent in how it came to that conclusion, right? So this is something to watch out for. And this is why in the evolution of AI, specifically in the healthcare space, human input is very critical. We cannot, this is why it's so important that we have the understanding, and so we are able to exercise that governance, that control, that systems, that regulatory mechanisms over ensuring that the use of AI is safe and effective, specifically in healthcare. Secondly, accuracy and reliability concerns, very related to the first point. This is another limitation that is something that we need to put oversight over. We ensure that whatever data is being generated or whatever training data sets that this AI models are exposed to, they are accurate and they are reliable, so they do not cause avoidable harm, for patient use or even clinician use. Second, outdated knowledge. Remember, we spoke earlier when we were talking about large language models and what the training data sets they're exposed to. We mentioned that sometimes, large language models are exposed to training data sets. And it's possible that these training data sets can be outdated because, information is continuous, learning is continuous, knowledge keeps evolving and growing. So it's very important that, we watch out for the possibility of these models or these machines generating information that is outdated. Second, next is hallucination. So the possibility of giving wrong information, we need to watch out for this. Additionally, privacy and security risks. Because we're using data, we must also watch out for data privacy and security risks, confidentiality, protecting the user's confidentiality and the use and the way in which their data is collected and disseminated, right? And then lastly, bias and misinformation. This is something that we already experience in the real world of medicine and healthcare delivery, how that sometimes the bias of healthcare workers or misinformation can affect patients, the way that patient care, is delivered. In that same way, because the same bias and information is what happens in delivery of care. Sometimes the same training data sets that these large language models are exposed to can also stand the risk of having the limitation of bias and disinformation. So you see why it's a continuous process of refining and evolution. Next slide, please. So it's very important that we also look what is the World Health Organization's ethical guidance on utilization of AI in healthcare. Like I've established earlier, first we need to protect autonomy. It's so important that we maintain human control over healthcare systems and decisions in the utilization of AI. So in the deployment of AI tools, AI models, in any aspect of the healthcare delivery or the healthcare workers' delivery of care, we must ensure that there is human oversight. Data privacy is something that we must pay specific and particular attention to. Ensuring informed consent of patients' data use or collection, provider and patient understanding of AI roles. It's so important that we carry everyone along, that they understand what is just the same way we emphasize informed consent in patient-centered care in the real world. In the same way, we are emphasizing this in the utilization of AI in healthcare. Secondly, promoting well-being and safety. AI must meet safety and efficacy standards without causing avoidable harm. Next, transparency and explainability. We already explained earlier how that one of the limitations is that sometimes AI models can be unable to explain their reason about how they come to certain conclusions. So it's important that AI is understandable to all stakeholders. We're ensuring that whatever information that is disseminating is information that has been tested, information that has been validated, information that has been authenticated. Next, we have responsibility and accountability. Clinicians
Thank you, everyone. Okay, at least you're back. She was experiencing some network.
Apologies for the network glitch. Thank you so much for jumping in, Chiagozie. I'm so grateful. But just to confirm where we stopped hearing me, please.
So you can start from WHO ethical guidance.
Oh, my apologies. So I think I've been talking for so long. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. one for your patients. So I was just explaining why it's so important that healthcare workers, we stay abreast. We are plugging in what are the best practices, in this space of the utilization of AI and deployment in healthcare, right? First, I spoke about protecting autonomy. We must maintain human control over healthcare systems and decisions. We must ensure that data privacy, informed consent, the very same elements that we emphasize in patient-centered care in the traditional real world examples of delivery of care, we must emphasize this as well in the use of AI. Secondly, we must promote well-being and safety of patients. AI must meet safety standards without causing avoidable harm. There have been experiences or examples of how the use of AI, the responses that it generated could have caused harm for patients' use. So this is something that we must exercise that human governance, that human oversight over. Next, transparency and explainability. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about some of the limitations in clinical settings around how large language models or AI use or deployment, sometimes it can give responses that are not exactly transparent as to how we came to those conclusions. So it is important that AI use, we have these guardrails, right, that make AI understandable to all stakeholders. We ensure that public consultation, meaningful information dissemination, the way that people are receiving the information and they're able to interpret it is transparent, is validated, is authenticated. Next, we spoke about responsibility and accountability. Clinicians and patients should continue to evaluate AI use. They have a responsibility to ensuring that the use of AI is accountable. There are regulatory principles or mechanisms, either from the top down or within healthcare facilities, that are enforced to ensure that, the risks that are associated with AI use, there are policies in place, there are actions that can be used to, address whatever there may be any adverse outcomes whatsoever. Next, inclusiveness and equity. A quick point I want to highlight here is that one of the things that AI does, the use of AI, particularly for health information, is that it has also contributed to reducing the health access barriers, particularly for people in underserved or remote populations. So if AI already has this big potential, it's important that we continue to leverage that potential or possibility that it has in making sure that healthcare use of utilization of artificial intelligence in healthcare is accessible and equitable. There are no biases, there are no discriminations, there are no disparities. Everyone, it's important that we, like the video said, it's important that we have an AI competent society. So we are building the preparedness, the understanding, the competence, the confidence of a society, both healthcare providers and healthcare patients alike, in their understanding, in their inclusiveness and use of AI. And then lastly, responsive and sustainable AI. AI must align with the health system sustainability agendas, whether at the national levels or at the global levels, and across also for workplace standards. Next slide, please. So just as I imagine that this session has been a very interesting session for us, just coming to understand introductory information, foundational understanding. What is AI really? How do we navigate the complexities? How do we understand what the promise it holds, the potential it has? And how do we address or work around or evaluate or, provide human input, right, to the risk that it also holds? So, and how does this revolutionize patient care and healthcare delivery? We have given examples of some tools. We have explained and tried to break down what are the core foundational elements that make up AI, from artificial intelligence to machine learning, to deep learning, to generative AI, and even large language models. So we've explained these fundamentals, how they are very important. We also even emphasize that we cannot do without data, that data is very crucial for AI deployment and healthcare innovation, right? We also explored how this AI's role in enhancing patient care, operational efficiency, diagnostic accuracy, even providing self-care support for patients. The use cases of AI, are limitless from what we've seen from this presentation. So, and we've also addressed the limitations and some of the ethical guidelines or guardrails that we need to be informed about, so that we are ensuring that the ethical implications or legal implications of using AI, do not counteract or do not affect the safety of patients and the effectiveness of AI in healthcare delivery. Thank you very much for your time and for listening. We're happy to take your questions in the chat box, and we're happy to provide answers to any questions you might have. Thank you so much. At this point, I'll hand over to Solomon. Solomon, thank you. Just confirming that Solomon can hear me.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please, could you, I'm unable to start my video. We don't know why.
Let me just
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Please, can we give Lisa momentous round of applause? Can we not be stingy with this, with ovations? Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Please, can we keep the claps coming? Keep it coming. Clap, 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 clap. Yeah. Thank you so very much, Lisa. I think this was breathtaking, particularly the flow of the presentation. We started at the lowest point and then we got to the climax. And I think from the applauses you're getting from the chat, it's evident that we were following and then we're learning quite a lot. Thank you. Please, if for those of us who have questions, you can just put it in the chat, and then we'll be able to respond to some of the questions. I see one question from Simbarashi. He says, how can AI be tailored to effectively address issues specific to Africa, considering that large language models are predominantly trained on Eurocentric data sets? And then additionally, he's asking what strategies are mDoc and Nigeria implementing to mitigate these data biases while ensuring data privacy? I think maybe I will go first, and just so that I'm able to provide some context, and then Lisa, you could chime in. And then, like we said, we have our machine learning engineers and experts also on the call who can also provide some perspective. I want to come in from a project perspective around the work we do at mDoc and some of the interactions we've had. Sometime in March, mDoc partnering with Science for Africa Foundation and Nigeria Health Watch, we held a Nigerian AI conference. Part of it was to see how we could come up with a framework for the utilization of AI ethically, especially within the Nigerian health space. And the following month, the Nigerian Federal Ministry of Innovation and Digital Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy also floated a national AI policy. So all of these were also around ensuring that a framework is built early on. So to take the question first, how can AI be tailored effectively to address issues specific to Africa? Okay, so the one, especially during the AI in Nigerian Healthcare Horizon conference we had in Abuja, part of during some of the breakout sessions, part of the insights that came up from one of the sessions which I was part of was that we have our data sets. Okay, so we have our data sets littered everywhere. For instance, in our work at mDoc, in building our own model, in creating our own chatbot chem, we have utilized our own data set. Okay, and so the same applies everywhere in Nigeria. There's data. So the first things first would be, like we have seen that data is very integral to whatever we do in AI, is to collect and utilize these data sets. Okay, and then create a culture of where we have a data repository where they can also be data sharing. Okay, so but more importantly, ensure that we collect and utilize our African specific data sets to train AI models, ensuring relevance and contextuality. And then also involving, part of this training is to ensure that clinicians, especially in the healthcare space, clinicians who are vital to creating, to the utilization of AI in healthcare, are also, well, they know what these things are. In our own case, we have high level of collaboration between our machine learning team and our clinicians. In fact, we have a name we've given to that clinical to show that high level of collaboration. So when we have the data set, involve these experts in that can help us annotate and label data sets to ensure that cultural understanding and accuracy exists. And then also language support. A part of our learning is also seeing that developing AI models should support African languages. And then, that aspect of promoting inclusivity and accessibility. And of course, partnerships are important because the people who have the data sets and the people who utilize the data sets to build these models, they need that platform that can bring together both sides. And that's why more government, international entities can also facilitate knowledge sharing and sharing of resources. And of course, we've talked about that privacy aspect of things, ensuring data privacy. Then for what mDoc is doing, we continue to lead the pace in terms of ensuring that we are ethically and responsibly using AI to advance the work that we do, okay, which has also led to us creating a CAM, which in the case presentation part, we're going to just give a snapshot of what we have done so far, okay? And then tying it back to the national AI policy, it's interesting that the federal government, led by the Ministry of Digital Economy, are very interested in ensuring that we jump on this AI thing well ahead of time. So I think based off interactions and some of the actions and policies of government in the past couple of months, we can say that Nigeria is interested. During the AI in Nigerian Healthcare Horizon conference we had, we also got feedback, reviewed some feedback from some of similar conferences that have been held in some other African countries. So I think it's safe to say that more African countries are beginning to jump on the bandwagon, okay, early enough to ensure that we are not left behind. So yeah, I think I hope I've been able to, I hope I've been able to answer. Yeah, Lisa, please feel free to add anything, or like we said, the answers can come from anywhere, including our experts in the house. So please go ahead to, yeah, and also the data privacy bit. For the first time towards the end of last year, and more importantly this year, the Nigerian Data Protection Bureau, NDPB, okay, or more specifically the Nigerian Data Protection Act. Before, it used to be a regulation, now is an act. So the federal government is much more conscientious about ensuring that data privacy is held to the highest possible standard, especially as is related to global best practices. Yeah, so, and that is to your question around ensuring data privacy. And so organizations like mDoc were compliant. In fact, we did get recommendation from the Digital Health Department of the Federal Ministry of Health as one of the few digital health companies that are data compliant, okay? So with conversations like that, it shows that it's not business as usual in Nigeria with regards to ensuring data privacy. Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Well done. I just wanted to jump. I think you did a fantastic, job of answering that question. But I just wanted to speak briefly. I see a question here about how can AI enhance remote patient monitoring and access to healthcare. And I wanted to just jump quickly to that. One of the things we spoke about around how AI can be leveraged, that AI can detect patterns. AI can learn from data. It can recognize algorithms and can interpret those data, those patterns, and then make decisions or be used to simulate intelligent human function, right? And then perform certain tasks. So think about in the case of like an app, that can give digital nudges, that can, for example, a patient is not at the facility, but the patient is at home and needs to monitor their blood pressure or check their health, check their, their blood pressure reading or their blood glucose level. AI models or AI AI-based applications or programs can be used to actually provide that monitoring, because it's helping the patient, giving the patient certain nudges, impute your your blood pressure metrics, blood pressure reading right now, or this blood pressure reading is quite elevated, you should see your doctor, for example. So this actually does help enhance that monitoring and that personalized care that patients need. For example, for the times when they are not in the facility, think about a pregnant woman, who is at risk of preeclampsia, or who has been diagnosed with that. These models or these AI-powered applications can be used to actually provide that self-care support, that continuous monitoring of those conditions, and help the patients to have access to the right care that they need. It can be used to triage, it can be used to even escalate when necessary, where there's like a cause for concern. You can escalate that and say you actually need to go to the hospital now because this blood pressure reading is quite elevated. You're at risk of this. You need to see a doctor. So I believe that AI does hold potential, and there is a world of possibilities in its ability to enhance, access to remote patient monitoring and improve personalized care for patients. Thank you very much. Solomon, I don't know if there's any other question that you quickly want to jump on. Okay, I saw something around, is any harm associated with AI use? Yes, that was why we spoke about the limitations and the risk that we need to be intentional about, right? And that's why we spoke about the guardrails that are necessary. Sometimes AI models like this can hallucinate, which means they can generate data outputs that are not reasonable or that are not necessarily correct or consistent. So it is important that the use of AI, the deployment of AI, is something that we are constantly testing, fine-tuning, validating, because avoidable harm can happen if we do not exercise this human governance, this oversight, and this inputs in the use of artificial intelligence models. Solomon, over. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I think maybe because of our time, because we still have a few more things to look at. Maybe we can keep the questions coming, and then we can then reply to some of the questions in the chat. I see Hannah doing a great job at responding to some of the questions. Thank you, Hannah. Okay, so Chiagoze did ask, how can AI be utilized to improve healthcare processes in a personalized way? So I think we can also provide those answers in the chat while we go to the next item because of our time. Okay, so those of us who have asked questions, you got to reply immediately. We're just trying to manage time. I think by the look of things, we just have a few minutes. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so very quickly, we would go to the case presentation. It will be good to run, as it's the custom with our television sessions at mDoc. We always back up the teachings, the theories with an actual case presentation that would help drive home the points that around the things we have learned from the teachings. So our case study would be CHEM. During some of the things I've said, I've mentioned CHEM, which is our own in-house AI solution that is so far doing amazing based on the testimonials and we've been getting from our various user testings, both internal and external. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So at mDoc, we built a health code chatbot named Chem to help support our members. So meet Chem. My screen, I had to switch over to my phone. Hopefully AI is able to help us solve the electricity problem in Nigeria and just the rest of Africa. But in the time being, we will just continue. Okay, so we created Chem, and as Chem is a health coach, sorry, I'm struggling with Trying to access this from my phone. Please give me a moment. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like I said, we'll be the health coach chatbot named Kem to help support our members. We're a digital health company, and for us, the idea was to, after COVID, we saw, or during when COVID hit, we saw that we were limited in the extent to which we could attend to our members. A whole lot of people requiring help, and then we had limitations in the number of health coaches that we had. And so, what was the right thing to do? We found that okay, if we had this chatbot that we could train using our own data, it could do the job. Okay, so this is Kem. A few of the so many things just popping up on my screen. Oh, sorry. Okay, please, next slide.
Hi, Solomon. So,
Yes.
Solomon, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you. Can you hear me now?
Sorry, please just give us a few minutes. We want to quickly run through, because of just managing our time, run through the post-test before we take the case study, please. So just
Okay,
a few,
no
while
problem.
we sort out the technical glitches with the presentation currently. So we'll take the post-test now, and then we
Okay,
can.
no problem.
Thank you so much.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Our post-test quiz is up now. Thank you to everyone who took the pre-test. It's time again to take the post-test. Remember again that this is completely anonymous, so we will, don't worry, just answer as best as you can. And the answers will be collated. It's just to show our knowledge gain, from the presentation so far. So I encourage everyone, please take the time to take the post-test. Thank you so much. If you're just joining, we're taking the post-test now. Take the questions before you drop off. It's very important that we. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lisa and Solomon, for a very the post quiz is up. Just jumping on it. Like we said, it's not a individual assessment. It would just be from the sessions. It's going to be up for the next few minutes. Please feel free to jump in on it. Questions? It's very jumping on it, but 1 minute passed and the post quiz. So please jump in on much participants as possible, participate in this. Let's keep the responses coming in. If you're just, we have the post quiz on now on your screens. In responding to them. If you have any technical glitches or any issues, you could, a member of the team would be there to provide the necessary support. Let us keep the question. We're 3 minutes in. It's only 8 questions. let us respond to it. I'm sure we learned a lot today. Our speakers will provide responses or the correct answers to this question after this. Let us do good to respond to the questions. Is multi-choice of, please respond up on your screen. We're 4 minutes in. Thank you so much. I also want to use this opportunity to thank workers for participating in this session. It has been a very, very interactive to Iyaduni, our director of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining and participating in this session. Thank you, Dr. Kel, in this session. The post quiz is up now. Please to the post quiz questions. We are 5 minutes in, just a couple of more. Please do good to respond to the questions. Thank you so much. Let us keep of the participants responding. Like this individually is just for us to track knowledge gain from the sessions. Just respond to the post quiz. Keep your responses coming in. We can see it. Keep your responses coming in. Thank you so much for all who have responded coming in. It's 8 multi-choice questions. It's on your screen. If you don't see it on your screen, please the necessary support. Well, respond to the questions live on the call, so you'll be able to know if you responded to it right or not. Like we said, we're not going to analyze this to track knowledge gain from the entire session. Thank you so much. Please, let's have as many. We have a good number of participants on the call. Let's have as many as we are on. We're taking it down in the next couple of seconds. Thank you so much. "20 seconds to go. And the responded to these questions. Please feel free to jump on it now. It's only 8 questions, multi-choice. And the questions. Okay, thank you so much, everyone who has responded to these questions. The answers would be shortly. Solomon, you can go ahead and continue, everyone, for participating.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Chagazi. Thank you, everyone. who has participated in the quiz and the post-quiz. Okay, just let me quickly go through. So, like I said, we created our own health code chatbot called Chem. Chem coined from two words. In Chem, Igbo language meaning my own, and Kemi, Yoruba language meaning Pampami. Okay, so for us, Chem was initially a rules-based chatbot. Okay, if this, then this, which was focused only on hypertension. However, with time, we saw the need to integrate large language models, which we've learned about today, to enhance the breadth and depth of Chem's support. Next slide, because of our time. Next slide, please. So, okay, play the video. Let's see what Chem looks like. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Someone said, nice combo for the name, Chem. There's no audio. I can't hear anything. Okay, is it just me? Okay, in case I say text in, please, I have a problem opening the mDoc app. Someone please attend to her. Okay. The video shows people, women at healthcare facilities chatting with Chem. Okay. Is there a reason why there's no audio? Okay, apologies for the technical glitch. Still playing without audio. Okay, we go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. Next slide. Okay, Chem responds in English and Nigerian Pidgin. We're also looking to integrate more local languages based off insights we've gathered during our user testings, where we had women of reproductive age test Chem. You can play the video so we could just see Chem in its dialogue state with the user. Play the video. Okay, if you can see your screen and then just follow the conversation. So Chem is very conversational, then is able to engage the user, asking questions, asking follow-up questions, and able to provide empathetic answer. And like you can see, answer in Nigerian Pidgin. This is AI, this is LLM, and yeah. Well, I would have loved to maybe take pauses and then just read some of the interaction, but please go to chem.mymdoc.com and then interact with Chem, and then feel free to give us feedback on your interaction with the platform. But yeah, okay, next slide because of our time. Next slide. So to ensure Chem is improving in performance, we routinely request our clinical evaluators to test and assess Chem's dialogue and its ability to execute its function against the following metrics. Remember, during the teaching, Lisa emphasized about having guardrails, okay, for the machine learning team, the clinical team, testing, evaluating, and then reprompting, improving, fine-tuning the model. And so based off the assessment from our clinical team against the various metrics, you can see some of the scores: accuracy, empathy, completeness, possible emergency situations, equity, safety, interactive query response, and then Nigerian context. You can see some of the scores in average. We had our clinical team test, and these were the average scores that were given on a scale of 0 to 5 or 1 to 5, as the case may be. Next slide, please. We also tested CAM with over 400 women of reproductive age, like I mentioned, doing multiple user testings, and they had great feedback to give. The positive ones, someone said, wow, so if it reply me for pidgin, it makes sense. And then this one said, I was worried around, I'm using my phone, so I'm struggling to, okay. The positive, this one says, sorry, just give me a moment. I was worried about sex after menopause and because of infection, but the answer it gave me will make me relax now, okay? So for negative outcomes, negative feedback rather, here it says, this answer is too long, okay? Another person asks, can I speak with my voice, okay? Which is part of our improvements around ensuring VTT, voice to text, and then text to speech TTS. Next slide, please. There's a snapshot of the women when they were testing CAM, and they really had amazing things to say. Yes, so typically, AI is here to stay, and amazing work is being done. So we're hoping that this particular session has given that soft landing where we can now expand, and then multiple series that will keep coming will be there to guide us as we keep expanding our knowledge of artificial intelligence and how it can help the work we do in the healthcare space. Okay, thank you, and over to you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Solomon. Thank you to everyone. Thank you for your time, for your audience responses to the post quiz now, so that we can see how it has helped. I'd like to ask Dorothy, please could you pull that up so that I could please. Thank you. Okay, so I think I'll just pull that up from my end here. Our first question is, AI is best described as A, the ability of machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. B, machines performing tasks without any input from humans. C, the science of improving computer hardware. And D, the use of robots for industrial manufacturing. The correct answer to this question is A, perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. And I saw that many of us already gave this answer in the chat box, so well done to everyone who got this correct. The next question is, generally, it can A, only create text-based content, B, create new content like text, images, video, and music from user prompts, C, generate, and D, predict the stock market accurately. If you remember when I was speaking earlier about what generative AI is, I mentioned that just like the name implies, it can generate new content like text, images, sound, video, music, the training data set it was exposed to. So the correct answer for this is B, generate new content like text, images, video, and music from user prompts. Question 3, What is a large language model? To predict market trends based on historical financial data. I'm sure you already know this is not the answer. B, a type of neural network designed to understand and generate human-like text by being trained on vast amounts of text data. C, a medical imaging technique used to detect abnormalities in brain activity. And D, a software tool for managing large-scale databases and ensuring data integrity. The correct answer is B. Like I mentioned, large language models, have the capability to be exposed to large training data sets, data sources, and then they can be fine-tuned and trained to perform specific tasks. So the answer is B, a type of neural network that is designed to understand and generate human-like text by being trained on vast. Question 4, what is tokenization? What are tokens in the context of natural language processing, NLP? A, tokenization is the process of converting tokens into plain text. B, tokenization into smaller units called tokens, such as words or phrases. C, tokenization is the process of and D, tokenization is the process of analyzing the sentiment of text data. Like I mentioned, tokens are snippets of text of breaking down text into smaller units called tokens, such as words or phrases. The correct answer is B. For question 5, how does generative AI work? A, by generating text or images. The example we gave around headaches, right? I hope you remember that example. So A, by generating text or images using its model of tokens created from its training data sets. B, by random or pixels from a predefined list. C, by connecting to the internet and gathering. And D, by mimicking human intelligence using algorithms and data. This might have felt like a bit of a trick question. Generative AI works by generating text or images using the model from its training data set. Remember, we said that tokens are snippets to identify other similar text that follow, right? Next question is, what in the life cycle of developing and deploying an AI model? Preparing the data, converting the data, and processing the data. Remember, we had 8 steps during the session, right? Evaluation, inference, and deployment. C, deployment, followed by retirement or replacement when necessary. And D, all of the above. So if you remember, there were 8 steps. We talked about understanding the problem, preparing our data, converting it, processing it, training the machine, evaluation, inference, or retirement and replacement. So of the above. Question 7, second to the last. What is the challenge of using large language models like GPT in healthcare? In clinical settings. First, option A, inability to explain reasoning. We spoke about this extensively. B, outdated knowledge. C, above. I expect that by now everybody knows that the correct answer is D, all of the above. According to WHO's core ethical principles, why is it the use of AI in healthcare? A, it ensures that AI systems can the sites. B, it prioritizes AI decision-making. C, it maintains human control over health. privacy and informed consent. And D, it is algorithms without human intervention. The correct answer, it maintains human control over healthcare systems. Like we emphasized earlier, it's so important that, we are in place, ensuring that whatever ethical implications of care do not affect effective and safe use of. As have helped us, we've gained some important knowledge, from the presentation that we've taken today so far. And thank you so much, everyone. End of this presentation. Thank you for staying through. From the evolution of how, technology has evolved over the years, even in our day-to-day, everyday experiences and real, like some of our banking apps, and then we transited, understood what are the components, what makes AI, what are the building blocks, structure, what's the foundation. We understood that it's very important for understanding so that you are able to maximize of AI as well as navigating the risk and the limitation. So we spoke about the building block, right? The ability of machines to be able to interpret, learn program. Let me give an example. The way that you as an healthcare patterns, symptoms, from delivery of and then you're able to interpret from this patient information, this medical history, and then you're able to, this is enhanced, right? That was the example we gave. The next layer was deep learning. And that mimics the neural networks, the way that are interconnected and layered. So in that same way, the ability models to be able to interpret data in provide meaningful and relevant responses. And then lastly, we talk about generative AI. What is generative AI? The new content like sound, images, videos, text, the training data set that it was exposed to. And we also spoke about models that, leverage large data sources, from app usage to institutions, to the information that we can get from hospital data, medical history, to people use, in monitoring their health, and then we're able to data sources, and then it's adapted for use. So sorry, I can't stress enough how important it is that our understanding of this learning to deep learning to generative AI is very, and then we're able to use AI tools. We get MedPalm of even Chem. We walk through that process. How is enabled applications able is around health information for
so much, Lisa. I think your network is breaking.
Oh,
this was an amazing session, very insightful, very engaging. I believe everyone AI, right? You understand the workings of AI, how it's utilized in health, and where we had this. Thank you so much, Lisa. Moving on, next slide. Post a quick reaction survey. Tell us how you felt about this, the session, so we can use this information to improve our processes. It's very quick on to how the sessions went. Only 5 questions. from this session and improve our processes in the coming. All the participants, our speaker, questions and responses in the chat. It was really great. Keep the questions coming in. It's just 5 questions. Your reaction to for the team so that we could, improve our internal. We'll have it all. We could take it down. Thanks, everyone. I guess we can put this down. Thank you so much for your responses. Like we said, we'll use it, to ending this now. Next slide, please. So please feel free to share in the chat what other topics to have through these sessions, your insights and your important to us. So please just put in the chat what else you want to learn, what are topics in health or healthcare that you want through this virtual teleeducation session. So put that in the chat. Social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Of our links to our products, Complete Health and NaviHealth in the chat. Any issues, use the phone number of our technical support. Thank you so much for participating. At the beginning of the session, we played a refresher video on how most of you have utilized NaviHealth to leave a facility. So this is just going to be another refresher. Please, this any technical issues, see how easy, peasy, and leaving a review. Next slide. There's no volume. This video. Yes, maybe you need to unmute yourself. Dorothy, okay, so I think there's a technical glitch, but we played this video. So if you could see it, please just sign up on NaviHealth. Thank you so much for your time today. I believe there's a technical glitch back end. Yes, this is very interesting. Partnership with University of Washington, hosting project management and participating in this course at a very, very subsidized fee. Please reach out. that support. So mDoc, in partnership with University of Washington, is project management course, a global project management in global health course. Course details on the screen. Feel free to reach out to us, the chats, to inquire about the courses. Scheduled to start 24th of June to 1st of September. It's a 12-week course. You need to commit to time and a week. You know, it would help you advance your career, gain comprehensive health and knowledge, learn how to from start to finish, navigate project challenges, expert insights with confidence. Thank you again. So if you have any questions around this course, jump in and provide the necessary support for you. Thank you. Rest of your day. Thank you so much for participating in our session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for joining.